Hey everyone! Today I'm going to show you mistakes I found in the movie Onwards. Pixar's Onward celebrates brotherhood. Enough said. What a fantastic head-turner of an idea it is indeed. To introduce a world full of urbanized, mythical creatures where magic is as close as it can get to a myth. Hats off to the creative souls who conceptualized the film. On that note, here is Movie House with no intent to defame the film in any way, presenting to you 20 mistakes from Onward. Notice the position of the bottle of dishwasher liquid behind the blender. When camera angles switch as Ian and Julia converse, the bottle appears to change its position. Yet another object placement issue here. If there ever is a term like that in filmmaking, notice how Ian's backpack is up against the bench in these shots when we see Julia spraying the dragon. But a short while later, as Ian is headed off to school, notice how the backpack's position has changed. And here is yet another unexplainable yet not spooky object movement. This time it's the tiny red toy figure. Look how far it is from the pencil in this shot. Well, from the farther shot, it appears to have moved closer to the pencil. With yet another object position mistake, we're starting to think if all these were intentional or a side effect of the magic that exists in their world. Notice the position of the plate in this shot. Notice how it is pretty far away from Ian. But in the very next shot, it has moved closer to Ian, surpassing the jam bottle. This error deals with the same plate. Not sure if one can count it as an error, but here we are. Notice the same plate again, while the plate changes its position again. Over here, notice the, you guessed it right, position of the green slipper. There, we've paused it for you. Look how the left slipper is well outside the chair's leg, and in the next shot, it appears to have moved in between the chairs. Again, notice the position of the papers that are on the table, the ones that are not in Ian's hand. Look closely. They appear to be placed close or well under Ian's hand, but in a shot from the other angle, the bunch appears to have moved away from under Ian's hands. In the same scene again, notice the position of the chair when the video pauses. There, it's behind Ian. And in the subsequent shots, it appears to be displaced. Magic, maybe? You may have missed this mistake because of how captivating the scene is. Here is Ian and Barley's half-resurrected dad identifying his sons by placing his foot on theirs. Did you get to see the empty floor on this particular shot? Well, on the subsequent shots, the floor is no longer empty. There is a crayon or a marker on the floor that wasn't there before. Again, in the same scene, focus on the floor and the objects on it. Notice the distance between the book and the hanger. They're farther apart. Yet after a few shots, we see the book and the hanger have come closer together. All objects in this flick appear to be spooked, even the dustbin. In this shot, notice its position and notice how, later, its position has changed when Julia enters the room. Ah, and here's a logical error. After all of those objects changing position, notice how Ian and Barley enter the Tavern of the Manticore. The place does look deserted, yet when the brothers open the door, the place is filled with guests. Why weren't there any cars on the outside? It's not that the mythical creatures didn't know driving. There isn't even a parking lot. You may not have noticed this mistake because of, well, your short-term memory. Notice at first the pattern on the door to the Manticore's tavern. A couple of scenes later, as everyone rushes out of the tavern and an enraged Manticore, the door pattern is entirely different from when Ian and Barley opened. The pattern changes again when Ian and Barley run off. Here's a serious disappearance instance. Notice the birthday party crew as Ian and Barley open the door, while the party ambiance tends to disappear as the camera follows the brothers as they enter the tavern. And yet again, the party crew appears to have been restored. In this scene, notice the distance between the woman and the computer. In the very next show, where's the computer? In this scene, notice how Ian and Barley's father trips over and falls at a certain distance from the place's tables. While in the subsequent shots, the distance appears to have changed. Over here, Ian holds the gas can. Notice that there's no leash in his hand, but as he switches the can to his other hand, a leash appears with it. And here is yet another object that appears to move on its own. The back bumper of the car. Look how it falls off pretty far from the entrance. Yet when police officer Colt Bronco sees the bunker, it is near the wall. Don't focus on those tiny yet fearsome bike riders. Focus instead on the soda can that falls on the floor. But in the very next shot, the cup and the soda disappears. Last but not least, in this scene, notice how Barley is standing on top of the passenger seat in the very next shot as Ian tries desperately to start the van. We see Barley appear on Ian's shoulders. Odd, isn't it? Onward continues to be a favorite film for us, besides most of the positional errors that can be, well, in our terms, pardoned, especially given how unique and engaging the film has been overall. Do hit like and subscribe for more such amazing content, and we'll see you later.